Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the All Burgundy and Go Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. I'm Glen Thomas. With me is George himself, George the Rat Templeton himself. George, what's going on, brother?
It's good to be back on. I've been waiting for this day to see what we were going to get with the schedule. And after all these silly leaks and all that other stuff, we actually have the real thing, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh, definitely can't wait to talk about it, man. This is one of my favorite times of the year. We get to see the schedule. We get to be prognosticators. We get to look at it and break it down and guess and figure out what this team is do before we even go into training camp. And we know our predictions and all that would change like 50,000 times. But it's fun to talk about and to the Washington Commanders. It's fun to say, hey, this is what our schedule looks like. And believe it or not, we got one of the toughest schedules in the league, the 8th toughest schedule in the NFL. You know, everybody saw Washington had an easy schedule last year, whatnot. But guess what, man? Who cares? You play the game. What? You play the games that's in front of you, right? You play the games in front of you. The Commanders don't make the schedule. It's not like we're it's not like they're scheduling the deaf, the blind, and the dumb like you do in high school sometime, or the cupcake for homecoming, right? The NFL is setting the schedule. It's not like the Commanders have too much say so. So, you know, when people talk about how it was an easy schedule, like, it's not like they pick these teams. It's not like Alabama picking, you know, a school just so they can get a payday, or a school picking Alabama just so they can get a payday. This is
we're not doing buy game. We're not doing buy games and guarantee games over here in the NFL.
We're not doing buy games and guarantee games over here. We're playing the NFL schedule in the Washington Commanders. The schedule is set out. But let's get to particulars, man. Hey, make sure before we go, you go ahead, George.
Yeah, before we get to it, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever fine podcast platform you listen to this show on. And don't forget to follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. It's all the same at ABG_Errrrything with 3 R's. And of course, if you see this on YouTube, like and subscribe, because if you do that, you help us out with our algorithm. Make it so that more people will see All Burgundy and Gold Errrrything when they're looking for Commanders content here on this fine platform we are on.
Definitely. Hey, here's the pregame. This is what we have on tap. We're going to cover today the full Commander schedule week by week. So we're going through all the weeks of the Commander schedule. We're going to talk about our favorite matchups. We're also going to talk about what stretch looks tough and where we might make a run. And, of course, we're going to close out the game. We're going to close out this with our early prediction. Wole should be joining us a little bit later. And my man Mo is out tonight. So, George, let's start this off, man. Let's start off right. Hey, what's up to everybody in the chat? Drop your predictions. Drop your, what's up, fellas? Drop how excited you are. Let us know if you're going to the Christmas game, right? Like that's the hot ticket right there. Let us know what's going on. Hey, shoot, if you got the big bucks, let us know if you're going to Spain. If you're going to Spain, right? If you're going to Madrid, let us know, right? But either way, George, let's get to it, man. Week 1, we start off with the New York Football Giants, right? We know how we football Giants. We had Giants earlier this year. But this year we kick off with the New York Football Giants, which is on Fox. Before we get started, the Washington Commanders have 5 primetime games. We'll talk about that as well. 5 primetime games this year. But week 1, the New York Football Giants. Your thoughts, man?
Let's start there. I don't ever like starting with division games in week 1. Also because, and I know we are in a new regime now, our record in week 1 in the last decade and a half has been terrible. One of my regular complaints, even before I was a part of this show, and you know it because I was a listener and a commenter, is that Washington never seemed to use preseason right, and as a result, never seemed to be ready for week 1. So I'm not a big fan of division games in week 1. If you win them, they're great because 1-0 in the division and 1-0 overall is fantastic, but 0-1 in both is a disaster. It is an absolute disaster when that happens. So we'll see what happens. We're going to be favored. Nobody's expecting much of the Giants. I think the Giants will be kind of improved. My biggest question with them is, which quarterback are we going to face? Because I don't think it's a sure thing that it is going to be dadgum Russell Wilson.
Oh, I'm almost assured that you have Russell Wilson as a starter. I don't think now will Russell Wilson finish the season as a starter of the New York Football Giants? I don't think so. And Washington's had Russell's number for the last couple of years anyway, whether it was Denver. What was he at last year?
Well, no, he got us with the Steelers.
Yeah, we got us with the Steelers.
Benjamin St.
But it was a close
saying
game.
Jerk getting burned at the end.
Yeah, but it was a close game though. Washington for 3.5 quarters, 3.25 quarters. Washington was winning that football game and should have blew it. That was a game that Jaden Daniels was off because of the rib injury. Washington should have got the Pittsburgh game, but they scored late. So Russell Wilson didn't get the win. Me personally, I think week one, against the Giants rivalry, Washington usually doesn't do well at home against the Giants. and I hate to say it, but I think with this regime, they're going to come out fast. This regime is going to start off. I think we have a great preseason, just because it is a full season. We've got a lot of time to work with the team. So I'm going to say here that Washington gets a dub against the New York Giants on week one. I'm going to say a home opener. We know Northwest. If I may say FedEx, y'all, I apologize, but Northwest is going to be rocking, right? Northwest is going to be rocking with excitement because of what this team did last year, going to the NFC East champion, going to the NFC Championship. So this, and I'm gonna be on record and say this too. This game will be a sellout.
Yes.
Home opener at Northwest against the New York Football Giants. This game will be a sellout.
Yeah, and especially that it's a 1:00 game too, because we don't have a lot of those in a huge swath of the season, which of course we'll get into that. And look, this is the most excited I know since I think 2000, because we didn't know we didn't know what to expect in '99. I don't think there was big expectations for that team. Of course, they ended up doing really well. But the next year after that, I think we were all thinking this could be a Super Bowl outfit. It didn't work out that way. Yeah, I'm expecting a sellout. There's going to be huge expectations, as there should be. I don't think this team is scared of that at all. I would expect to win, and I really hope it's not going to come down to the fact that they don't have a kicker or something like that. It could come down to special teams. We got to remember that special teams was vital in that game a year ago in Washington. Could be vital again in this game too.
Yep, definitely that. Then we have a short week, George. It is a short week. Play on September the 7th. Short week, Thursday, first prime time game, Thursday night. We go to Lambeau Field, right? I'd rather play in Lambeau in September than December, right? So they play in Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers on a short week. To me, I think this is an early test, right? It's a test early for the Washington Commanders. You got a defense. You got Jordan Love that's there. You got Jacobs, who's running back for the Green Bay Packers. So Josh Jacobs, you got running back for the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be an early test, right? Green Bay is a playoff team from last year, but I still think this is a dub because, again, Paul said it, man, words out of my mouth. We have the better quarterback, and I think we have the most weapons. So I think going to Lambeau, and even though it's a short week, this team does well. Jaden does well in primetime. I'm sorry, right? Jaden does well in primetime.
Yes.
All the primetime games he's had, Jaden has put on a show. He likes the eyes on him. He hasn't let us down yet in primetime. So even with the Philadelphia Eagles NFC Championship game, it wasn't Jaden Daniels' fault. But I say here, Commanders get a dub here against the Green Bay Packers.
I have to say, I think if you're going to have to play 2 games in 4 days, you want to do it early in the season. You want to do it when you're still kind of fresh. You want to do it when you haven't hopefully had a lot of injuries yet. You get Green Bay in September, which means, you don't get the extreme cold, which late in the season can really cause a problem for you, especially injury-wise. I think that's a good draw for us. That said, Green Bay is such an interesting team to me because you could look at them last year and say they were one of the biggest disappointments. But by the same token, and I'm friends with I've got a good friend who lives down here as a Packers fan, and this is true. Their quarterback was let down by a wide receiving core that could literally not catch a cold last year. And if those receivers are any kind of decent, and by the way, here's a fantasy tip for all you guys. You better be targeting, I think it's Golden, right? They took Matthew Golden in round 1.
Yep.
You better be targeting Matthew Golden in fantasy. I don't care that he's a rookie. He is going to be there. If he ain't their number 1 receiver by this opening week of the season, he'll be their number 1 receiver by midseason. He is such a better pass catcher than the rest of these guys. And Watson is a guy you can't count on to stay healthy. Matthew Golden, get him in your fantasy team, whether it's dynasty, redraft, whatever. Matthew Golden. Remember that name. That said, because I don't want to go crazy, because you know what? I see what our chatters are saying, and I can't say that they're totally wrong. Every year, I've been the wait a minute, let's not put too much expectations on this team. Let's not go crazy with our predictions. This year, I think I feel like I feel like I might be going down into the briar patch with that, because I think this team's capable of a lot of wins here. And this is one of those games that I think is kind of fork in the road. It's like they go to Green Bay and win. I think they could be off to an amazing start. They could be off to a historic start, really. One of the best we'll have seen, since 95, 96 they started 7-1. If they go to Green Bay and win, and I think they can do it, we could be looking at something like that where they start in a historic fashion that we haven't seen for decades around here.
So then they week 3, the Las Vegas Raiders, which they don't have much. Raiders don't have much. So this game, to me, Washington goes to the West Coast, right? Go to the West Coast, go to Las Vegas. Las Vegas. This is not a trap game, but I think Washington does well in Vegas. They get the dub. I say this one is a W for Washington Commanders in Las Vegas. Not a primetime game, I believe it's a 1 o'clock game. 1 o'clock game on Fox. Washington gets the win here. Not much going on in Vegas. They're still in turmoil. Got a new coach, right? Was Pete Carroll now, right?
Pete Carroll, and they got Geno Smith. They got Geno Smith now.
Got Geno Smith. So Geno Smith, Pete Carroll. And you got this team early. Now, Pete Carroll's team usually excel late in the season, and they get better. So to get a Las Vegas Raiders early is a good thing for Washington. So I think Washington gets a W here.
I sort of view it as a trap game, because I think the next game that they play after that is actually a pretty big game, even though it's not a primetime game. We'll get into that in a moment. But I want to point you to last year, because I'll tell you what was really good about Washington last year, and what was such a marked change from the previous 20 years. They played big games last year, and they, by and large, didn't have letdowns. The only one you could say was a letdown game where they played like you-know-what was when they had the 10 days off again and played after losing the Thursday night in Philadelphia, and they played absolutely terrible against the Cowboys. Now, you can argue this is a similar situation to that, so it maybe bears watching, but I look at some of the other big games. After the big Monday night win in Cincinnati, they went to Arizona and thrashed them. After a tough loss to Baltimore, they could have had a letdown against Carolina, and even though Jaden got hurt, they didn't. And then you could argue they had the letdown against the Bears, but they found a way to win that game famously. They by and large backed up really good performances with other really good performances, or at least credible performances. So for me, this is kind of a trap. But this coaching staff has shown you that, with the exception of one game, which was a division game, they were able to handle this situation. And so I expect them to win. I would expect them to win a little comfortably. We'll see. I mean, I don't think the Raiders are going to be as bad as what people think, in part because of Pete Carroll, and because I feel like that's the job that's always fit him. And he's never got it, and now he has. So I really like that they hired him in the situation they're in. And Max Crosby, I'll tell you what, big test for this offensive line, Max Crosby. We're going to see, because remember, if there hadn't been an extension, Washington would have probably been in on the Max Crosby sweepstakes if he was out on the trading block. So that's the interesting thing to watch there. But again, I would hope that they're 3-0 or 2-1 after this game.
Then we go to week 4, and this is the game I'm going to call. This is my trap game right here. The Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, we know last year Washington beat the Atlanta Falcons last game of the season. All right, last game of the regular season, beat the Atlanta Falcons in overtime. All right, Jaden Daniels throws the ball to Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz gets a touchdown. The Falcons play tough. that game. They played Washington tough. I know teams have changed dynamics. If there was a trap game early, to me, it would be the Atlanta Falcons. I'm on the fence on this one right now. Be honest with you, whether Washington, takes Atlanta out, it's down in Georgia. So, George, I hear your thoughts, and then I'll go. But I'm on the fence here because that Atlanta team with a new quarterback, and he's coming into the system. He's not just thrown into it, right? He's been working all summer. Penix, they might have gotten better, and he's might have gotten better, and he's working, and they're working, and you got Bijan Robinson, and so this team, the Atlanta Falcons team, maybe the team in the South, and is my pick to win the South this year. All right, the Atlanta Falcons. So this may be a tough game.
I'm glad you said that because my biggest worry with our fans is that we'd overlook this, saying, "Oh, we've gotten so much better." I'm with you on Michael Penix. I think Michael Penix has showed you again. The frustration I would have with Atlanta was the same one that I had a couple years back when we wouldn't play Sam Howell until the last game of the regular season. Michael Penix should have been in there sooner for Atlanta, and if he, especially because Kirk Cousins wasn't healthy and shouldn't have been playing, as we would find out later. And if Michael Penix had been in a month earlier, like he should have, they'd have been in the playoffs. And here's the other thing. Those fans down there and that team down there, they're real sore that Washington put them out and beat them. Washington is going to be facing maybe one of the better Atlanta, because usually that crowd, we know that crowd's not the best. Washington fans have usually got in that dome, taken, as Paul rightly says, we've taken that stadium over a lot. I think unless they have a bad start, I think we're going to see one of the better, more hostile Atlanta crowds for a while. And I think that game's going to be hell for leather. I'm with you. That is a toss-up. That is going to be a tough game. I hope our fans can get in like they normally are. But if Atlanta starts well, I think you're going to see one of the better Atlanta crowds that are, because I don't know what it was about. Maybe it's the fact that we got the ball first, went right down and scored or whatever, or some of the other things that happened in that game. But they're kind of sore about what happened with us beating them last year and kind of knocking them out of the playoffs and helping Tampa get in. And I think they want a chunk out of us, and I think this can be a tough game.
Tough game. So I'm going to give you my prediction. I do think Washington wins this game. It may be an overtime game. It may be a last-second field goal type deal. But this is going to be a tough game for Washington. It's going to really let us know what we have if we're not hurt in the NFC. All right? Next game.
Yeah, we ain't called no warm-up so far, Paul. I noticed you aren't either, so I think we've all gotten wiser on stuff like that.
Here we go. The Los Angeles Chargers. We go out west again. And we take on the Los Angeles Chargers 425 game, Fox, October the 5th. Washington versus the Chargers, who like to run the football. This is where the Washington defense is going to be tested. Mm-hmm. And if they can, because we know Harbaugh likes to run the football. So if we'll see, not saying other teams won't, like not saying Josh Jacobs or anything won't, but they do enough. You're going to get a running team when you come to the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are going to run the football. And we're going to see what this defensive line is really made out of. And can Washington pull this one out, George?
Well, you talk about a stadium we've taken over. We've taken over that stadium before we're out there. And I'll tell you what, if this team is 4-0 or 3-1 coming into that game, there will be burgundy and gold all over that place. Tell you that right now. Paul, there, I knew you. I was wondering when you were going to say it, the tune-up. Paul's got it. I got it wrong. I said the warm-up. Paul says it's a tune-up. So I'll tell you this, and honestly, that may be what, believe it or not, something like that could decide the game. If there's 25,000 burgundy and gold fans, Commanders fans in there, that could swing that game, because I look at that game and I'm like, our defense, are they really going to be ready for that yet? Are they really going to be ready for prime time? Because my hope with this team is, even if this defense isn't great in September, that they're going to improve. and that Joe Witt will figure some things out and develop some of these players, especially some of the players that were here last year and didn't play a lot, like a Jordan McGee, and that by December, our defense is nasty. We might not be ready for what the Chargers have got for us. So this may come down to who has the ball last. Like I'm thinking the kind of shootout that we were talking about with Atlanta, we may get that in spades with the Chargers game. That's one where that over under better be high. That over under better be well into the 50s. Otherwise, I would say pound that over because I think there's gonna be a lot of points out there. I do think they can win that. I'm gonna call us 4-1 at that point, if that's the case.
Did we take on Caleb Williams on Monday Night Football? The Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders, right? We hosted the Bears come back to Northwest. They come back to Northwest Field after the Hail Mary in Maryland, right? The NFL scheduling is weird. They got this team coming. I looked at this one and I like, they got the Bears coming back to the scene of the crime, right?
Yes.
They got the Bears coming back. It's not like they get us on their home turf. They're coming back to the scene of the crime in prime time on Monday Night Football. How many times do you think we'll see that play leading up to that game?
The scene of the crime that quite literally murdered their season. That play killed their season stone dead. They were on their way to being 5-2, I think, or 6-2 or whatever. They lost that game and then lost the next 9, and the coach got fired, and the GM was lucky not to be fired. If that game was in Chicago, he's like, I actually think Atlanta could be a little bit of a snake pit. If that game was in Chicago, you want to talk about a snake pit? Ooh, they would be waiting for us. They would be waiting for us, but it's in Washington. And, they got something against us for what happened last year. I don't know how much they can translate it to the players, but the front office has got a little something against Ben Johnson too.
Yeah.
Because he stiffed these guys. Let's make no mistake. They were flying to Detroit to offer him the job. That's the thing. Blows my mind. I mean, we're glad to have Dan Quinn, and it worked out great. But the revisionist history on all that has kind of annoyed me because you do not fly out to an assistant coach just to talk to him. You fly out to an assistant coach to offer him the job to say, come on back on this plane, and we're going to introduce you tomorrow. And in the middle of the flight, he stiffed them. And I know there's still a little something about that in the front office. I would bet money on it.
And we got the better end of the stick, in my opinion.
We did.
This team would not be.
But we better not lose to them.
This team would not have been where they were at last year with a Ben Johnson, first-time head coach. Sorry.
100%. 100% agree. We can't. And it's like I'll call this one. We better beat them, or it's going to be a tough week for a lot of people around Commanders Park and Ashburn. So I think we win that one. I'm thinking we're gonna win that one because there's gonna be a few people in that front office that are gonna be less than thrilled if it doesn't go that way.
Yeah, we get the dub here. I think we get the dub against Chicago. Only thing is we do not wear the black uniforms because we don't do well against black uniforms. But we won last year in the black uniform with a Hail Mary. But
that's out. That the uniform jinxes are gone now that we're now that we're there. I don't even know if we can wear the black helmets against them because the Chicago Bears' helmets are kind of dark too. So I think
they're dark too. So we'll see there. But we'll go to Bears. After the Chicago Bears, Washington has go and then Dallas. First game against Dallas, week 7. We head to Dallas. Big D, Jerry's World, right? Divisional game, first divisional game since week 1, right? First divisional game since week 1, week 7. So we had George, your thoughts? Dallas, Washington Commanders, Michael Parsons, maybe a healthy Dak Prescott.
I like where this game is scheduled. One, because while some people are bullish on Dallas, I am not. And if things aren't going well, things might already be coming apart at the seams for them by the time we play them in October. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a lot of people were already ticketing us for that Thanksgiving Day game in Dallas. I didn't want to do that this year. I'm glad we're not doing it this year. We know how the two games went against Dallas last year, and they both went terribly. Even though they won the second one, it was Week 18, and quite frankly, we had to put Mariota in the game to win it because Jaden was having a tough time against him, just like he did the first time. And see, that leads me to why I feel confident about this game. I think it probably bugs Jaden a little bit that he didn't play well in either game, and he knows it's a big rivalry. He knows it's a big rivalry, and it's 425. Unless Dallas is absolutely awful, like really, really bad, that's going to be the main game on Fox because Dallas, Washington, despite all their efforts to kill this rivalry, still draws eyeballs every time. I'm expecting us to go into Dallas and win. That is what I'm expecting.
I think this one is always personal. When you take the Cowboys and Washington, you can, like you say, you can throw the records out the window. Washington has not been great beating this team on the first opportunity. So that's the way I'm looking at it here. I think this one is an L. I hate to say it. And I'm saying this now, mind you, fans, I'm saying this in May. So when time rolls and the game comes up, trust me, it will probably change. But right now, I think this one is an L for Washington, unless Dak Prescott is hurt and, they got insert backup quarterback. But I think this one is yes, as an L. And I hate to say that, but I think this is an L for them.
It's an interesting prospect because you wouldn't think of the Cowboys as a sandwich game because the Cowboys is always a big game on our schedule. But, playing after the Monday night against the Bears, which is a big game for so many reasons, and playing the game they've got next after that, it kind of falls in there. It kind of falls in that sandwich donut, Admiral Akbar, it's a trap situation. So I don't blame you for feeling that way, honestly. I don't. I really, because that's the other thing. The Cowboys fans don't have much right now, but if Jaden goes down there and we lose to them and he doesn't play well again, they're going to start getting these notions that they got the secret on Jaden, and I don't want to hear that mess. I don't want to hear that mess from them, honestly.
Then we go on to Week 8, another Monday night game. All right. Mm-hmm. Super Bowl runner-ups. The matchup I think everybody wants to see, right? Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels. I think this is the matchup people want to see. All right. We thought we would get in the Super Bowl. It was close. Right? Close to getting in the Super Bowl last year. Kansas City wasn't what they were last year. I don't think they're going to be what they were last year. But any reason they always trying to find a way, right? They always find a way. Kansas City struggled. I don't see anything they've done in the offseason to get better. Right? I don't. So I think this one here is going to be a tough game. All right. But I think Washington gets their mojo back after losing to Dallas. And he gets a big primetime win against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I say Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders get the win here against the Chiefs. Because, again, they'll lose to Dallas and it's time to get the mojo back.
Man, I can't wait to see this game in part because just to see Jaden Daniels get a chance for him to measure up against the quarterback who's been the quarterback in this league since he first took command of that Kansas City football team. Monday night too, we like you say, primetime Jaden Daniels is the best time Jaden Daniels. There's no denying it. What I'm hoping is this is a game where we start to say this defense is starting to get it together. Mm-hmm. We point to this Kansas City game. It's like this is when this defense starts to pull its own weight. Because again, we got to remember we're coming from a long way back. This defense really struggled. Everybody knows what happened in the championship game. It's hard to turn it around right away. I know Dan Quinn did it in Dallas, but it's tough. Him and Joe Witt got a lot of work to do to get this defense right. Let this be the game against Kansas City where this defense starts to turn it on. So I'm gonna say that we do win here, which I think at that point would put us about 6-2, 6-2 or 7-1. somewhere in that. Yeah, 6-2,
7-1.
7-1. I'm going to say that we rise to the occasion here and come up with an absolutely monster win on the road. Which again, Jaden Daniels, you think he's already in the stratosphere already? What happens if he goes and outplays Patrick freaking Mahomes and wins at Arrowhead? That'd be a moment for
Here it is
sure.
too, George. And when whichever quarterback has the ball last wins this game.
That's true. That's 100% true.
Whichever quarterback has it, Paul says this. Paul said it's a toss up. Everybody believes it's a toss up, right? He said we lose on a missed field goal late. I can see that happening as well. But
if we have kicker issues again,
I can see that. I can see that happening, but I also can see that Jaden has the ball with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, and we have to go down there and get a touchdown, or vice versa. Patrick Mahomes has the ball with 1 minute 30 seconds left at home, and they got to score.
I mean, wouldn't that be the way for Washington to win a game like that? Is that they actually stop a top flight quarterback at the end of a game, come up with an interception or come up with a sack fumble or something?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be just fantastic beyond words to have something like that? Oh, mercy.
Oh, man. They come out and win with this game, and we're talking in May. They come out with a win in this game, and they're 6-2 or they're 7-1, and they just beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who everybody picked. That Super Bowl talk is real.
Lid's off. Lid is off. If they are 6-2 or 7-1 after that Kansas City game, people are gonna be running away from their friends and their relatives who are Commanders fans, because we will not shut up about nothing for I don't know how long if that happens.
Mm-hmm. So then we have from a Monday night game. Here's another primetime game Sunday night against the Seattle Seahawks. Dub. Ain't much. Dub.
That's a bizarre one to put on Sunday night. And that's the only thing that makes me wonder if that's the biggest trap of the year. Because it's like, why? Seattle's got Sam Darnold. Is he figured something out? Is Kevin O'Connell unlocked something in him that he's going to be a good quarterback from now on? Or was that just Kevin O'Connell QB whisperer magic? Because that's personally what I think.
Well, that's what Minnesota.
Seattle. Here's a thought: is Sam Darnold even going to be the quarterback of the Seahawks?
Correct.
By that time,
you look. Sam Howell's gone. I can't remember who the backup. I can't remember who the backup when they got rid of Sam Howell.
Jake Milroe, right?
Yeah, Jake Milroe, right? So you'll see if Sam Darnold still have any juices left for Minnesota. Minnesota didn't believe in Sam Darnold. I'm sorry. Minnesota didn't believe in him. Had a great season, took the team to the playoffs, great record, great touchdowns, made success, brought his name back, should have been comeback player of the year, all that stuff, right?
Took Minnesota. In the playoffs.
In the playoffs, stink up the place, right? So then don't get paid. And Minnesota say, you know what? JJ McCarthy out there, we're going with our rookie. You're gone. You're gone.
Yeah. That's a Seattle game. That's a weird one to have. And again, after the Kansas City game, because that's a sandwich game too, because Kansas City on Monday night's big, and the game after it is a monster as well.
Can't have a letdown.
You do have to worry about the donut game there, but again, they showed the ability to not do that, to not fall in the trap, except against Dallas last year. So that's a game they should win, but that's a game that you might want to put a circle around and say, we might have to revisit what we're thinking about it when we get to it.
Paul says this: if this defense can't stop Sam, then Witt needs to give up the play caller. That is, I agree with that. If this defense and these corners right there, the corners that we're supposed to have with Amos and Lattimore, with Mikey, with Iganagami. Look, if Sam can pick, let's be honest, this Seattle team doesn't have a Justin Jefferson.
They traded DK Metcalf.
This team doesn't have a DK Metcalf. So who's he throwing the football to?
It's a good question. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's pretty good. But yeah, I'll tell you, Paul, Joe Witt, I thought got a lot more got harsh criticism, maybe a tad undeserved last year, given the state of the talent that we have on defense. I think we've tried to address most of these concerns that he's had and tried to bring players in fit with his vision. But if we're sitting here at week 9, even with a great record, and this defense is struggling, and say they get, even if they win, say they get torched by Mahomes, the heat might be on old Joe Witt by week 9, especially if they have a bad game against Sam Darnold or whoever the quarterback is, because I'll be honest, I don't think he'll be the quarterback by week 9. That's me.
Hey, then we go. Then we go into week 10, George. Week 10, the Detroit Lions come to Washington. All right. By this point, we should already in playoff stuff should already be heating up. We should already be talking about playoffs. We should already be talking about, okay, Washington's here with these positioning by week 10. I personally don't think the Detroit Lions is going to be that good without Ben Johnson. If he's the guru of offensive coordinators and he's the whisperer, they've not only did they lose Ben Johnson, but they also lost Aaron Glen, right? They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost the defensive coordinator. This game right here, as Todd says, Todd, just want to circle for me as well, Todd. All right? This circle here. Washington should be better than the Detroit Lions team who lost both coordinators, even at this point here. I know who they have, but yeah, Washington should be better than them. I think this is not going to be what we saw in the previous game, but Washington Commanders should be able to beat the Detroit Lions.
I will paint this scenario for you.
And thank you, Paul. I was going to say that too, but I didn't want to jinx anything because Detroit has never beat us.
Todd is right about circling this game. Here's why I'm circling it. I'm imagining that Detroit is not going to be as good, and that if the explanation for Jared Goff's success, I always like using this phrase, is that he made a deal with the devil when he went to Detroit. I think you could argue that the deal expired against Washington in the divisional. But I'm going to paint this scenario for you. Detroit's 4-5 or 5-4, and they're struggling. And the game at Washington is a code red game. Their whole season may be on the line in that game. And that may be where, especially with the game coming up after this that we're all going to be looking forward to is going on. I could see Washington getting upset here. Even though Paul's right, they've never won in Washington, D.C., and they've been playing football in Detroit for 80 or 90 years and have never went to Washington and won. I just wonder if we might be seeing the last gasp for this group of Lions in that game, and it's one of those games where they have to lay everything on the line because if they lose, they're in deep trouble in that division. Because I expect the Packers to be better. We all think the Bears are going to be better. At least the league does, as many games as they've got on primetime as they do. This is a code red game for Detroit, and I think they might win it. So I might give Washington an upset loss here to Detroit.
Ooh, okay. Then we go over to Spain. Washington Commanders go over to Madrid, Spain, to take on the Miami Dolphins. Right? Washington's first time playing a overseas game since they tied with the Cincinnati Bengals, 27-27. I believe that was 2016, which made me mad because they would have won that game. They went to the playoffs that year, George.
That was the Dustin Hopkins has officially got the yips, and we should have got rid of him game, and we kept him on another 2 years and missed out on some kickers like Tyler Bass that I desperately wanted in a Washington uniform. The less said about that, the better.
Yes. Washington got tied that game 27-27. So they take on the Miami Dolphins, and this is going to be a great week. A lot of questions going to happen this week. Big stadium, large crowd, Super Bowl field. It will be a big Super Bowl. If you ever go over to Europe when stuff like this happens, it is a big deal. It is a big, big deal. So they can get a big field in here, Super Bowl field, Miami Dolphins. Am I not mistaken? They never won in Europe, George? Washington has never won an overseas game?
I think they only won one in preseason, maybe. I'm pretty sure they've never won a regular season game over there. I thought they might have won a preseason game over there once. I could be wrong about that.
this is a game again, a toss up for me, catch game because the long travel, body's beating up a little bit. The bye weeks, the following week after that. Hopefully, got all the excitement, the hoopla, the whole different feel, your routine, everything is off. We'll see how well this coaching staff can get this team ready for all of that because it's gonna be different. I'm gonna say this is a dub. I'm gonna say this is a dub. For Paul said it. Tua might not be playing at this point, right? Tua
You
may not
might
be
be
playing,
right
but
about that.
Tua might not be
You might
playing
be
then.
right about
And
that.
so if Tua's out of this game, then yeah, this is a game that Washington should win because Tyreek Hill is not back, is he?
Oh, who the hell knows what's going on with Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, he's not in and
They
out.
should
He
trade. They
got.
should trade him.
They should trade
They
him.
should trade him, but they haven't yet.
Yeah. So you never know. So I think they're gonna win.
Everything you said about the hoopla and the routine being off is right. But if I'm right and they're coming off a loss to Detroit, this is the closest game. This is the only time I may use Paul's favorite saying here. To me, this game might be the tune-up. Miami's in bad shape. That front office and coaching staff probably should have been fired last year. The only positive about that they weren't is that they might be so bad this year that it might be better that they're bad this year and get rid of everybody and start over. And they might be bad enough that they'll be high enough in the draft to get a good quarterback that they need to get in next year's draft. I think Miami's headed for the rocks. I think the Dolphins are going to be terrible. I think Washington's going to roll here. And I think with the even though that buys in front of them, and even though you're right about they might be a little jaded, having another season where they have a bye so late, if they're coming off a loss to Detroit, they're gonna have some fire in their eyes, and there's gonna be some smoke for the Dolphins. I think they roll the Dolphins here big time, and I think we're looking at a bye, and we're looking at a team in Washington that will be 7-4 at the absolute worst, 8-3, 9-2 at the bye, and that's gonna be pretty awesome if that's the case.
Then we move on. We got a bye week 12. Good time to rest. They have 14 days, George, between games.
Yes.
This team will have 14 days to rest up, to get healthy before they play again on November 30th. Another primetime game, right?
Yes, sir.
Another primetime game. Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos at home, right? Bo Nix and Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, they all come to Washington to take on Jaden Daniels. Now we know this was the race last year for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
All right, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, which it wouldn't even been close if Jaden hadn't got hurt, in my opinion. All right. So
although let's remember, we also get to play the other great rookie because we're facing Brock Bowers with the Raiders too. The other great rookie that
Brock Bowers, the Raiders too, as well
from
last year. So that to me Jaden would show this is the game to see the progression of year two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Year two progression. How has these guys shaped up in year two? Denver, Washington coming off of 14 days rest. I don't think Denver has a shot. And this is why I'm saying I don't think Denver has a shot, because Denver has already played Kansas City. They've already played the Chargers. They already played Oakland. They're going to get beat up in their own division as they come to Washington. So to me, Washington will get a Denver Bronco team that's already been beat up because of the divisional games they have prior to playing Washington.
They should win this game. I'm fascinated because, we've seen rookie quarterbacks have great rookie seasons and then slide back. That's what happened to C.J. Stroud last year. Was not all his fault. And C.J. Stroud pretty much redeemed himself in the playoffs by being absolutely amazing and kind of showing you that if he has the support, he's one of those guys. Bo Nix is a very interesting case because he shocked us all. I thought it was a terrible pick. I thought they reached for him. I thought Sean Payton was out of his mind to take Bo Nix. Got a lot out of him last year. But is that system, and can it be something that's going to be that now that there's tape on him, it's not going to work anymore? That's the question I've got with Bo Nix. people can say the same thing about Jaden Daniels. There's a lot more substance. There's a lot more to hold on to with Jaden Daniels than there was Bo Nix. Bo Nix did really well. A lot of short passes, a lot of bubble screens, a lot of wet, a lot of Sean Payton stuff that now everybody's seen for a year, and it's like, okay, now we're going to know how to attack it. I think Washington wins, but I think it's probably close until late, and then Washington pulls away late. So at that point, what are we talking about? We're probably talking about 9-3, aren't we? 10-2, 9-3, something like that.
Yep. Then after the Denver Bronco game, Washington Commanders go to play in the dome, right? Go to Minnesota. Justin Jefferson, hopefully J.J. McCarthy at this point. All right. I know they say he's healthy, but I just don't trust J.J. McCarthy's body. I'm sorry. All right. And then again, J.J. McCarthy will technically be a rookie.
That's right.
In this system. First year playing in the NFL because he got hurt in the first preseason game last year. So you got J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson taking on this Washington Commanders defense. To me, Minnesota's always overhyped to me. Right? I like they're overhyped to me. I think everybody hypes Minnesota up, right, to be such a great team, and they win games late, whether they win games by 1 point or 2 points, and then they get to the playoffs and they falter. To me, this would give a playoff atmosphere because at this point for both teams, Washington playing be the number one seed, maybe the number one seed in the NFC. Minnesota, because of the division they're playing in, could be playing for their playoff life. Right? Could be playing for their playoff life. So this is going to have a big game feel. And then Minnesota might be thinking, dang, did we make a mistake by not keeping Sam? Sam I am at this point. But I think Washington goes to Minnesota and gets the dub. For those reasons, because I think Minnesota takes a step back. They don't have a running game. The defense is a little shaky. You got Justin Jefferson and who else?
Jordan Addison, who's pretty good.
Yeah, but who's throwing?
Like Jordan Addison.
Who's throwing? I know Wole was here. He was like J.J. McCarthy, Michigan guy. I get it.
No, and see, thank God Wole's here, so we don't have to listen to any of that Wolverine propaganda. Because first and foremost, if I thought Bo Nix was a reach, J.J. McCarthy, again, you could argue that both of them fall under what I call white boy QB hysteria that we get at the draft every year. J.J. McCarthy's is worse than Bo Nix in the sense that J.J. McCarthy was minimized by Jim Harbaugh on that national title run. It was J.J. McCarthy was kind of a handoff specialist.
Yeah.
So how he got drafted that high, and again, Kevin O'Connell, we have to remind ourselves that he's proven that he can make it sing with just about any quarterback.
Yeah.
Will J.J. McCarthy be starting by then? Might not be, because who was it? They got Sam Howell and somebody else.
It might be. You got Sam Howell, yeah.
The thing is, Minnesota last year was the biggest paper tiger of all time.
Yeah.
Paper mache all the way. The schedule fell right. That nobody saw them coming. They got some of the good teams they did beat. They got them at the right time. Look at those last two games last year. When they played Detroit for all the marbles, Detroit walked all over them. And then they had to play the Rams, and not even in L.A., it was in Arizona, and the Rams walked all over them. So Washington ought to go to Minnesota and win. My only thing is it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. Justin Jefferson is the most unguardable individual. And, he could have two bills. Even if this secondary is improved, even if this defense by this time is really starting to bear its fangs and show something, we better get whoever that is, whoever's triggering the ball on the ground, because that's the only way to stop Justin Jefferson is to sack the quarterback. It should be a win. It should be a win.
Then we go into the gauntlet, George.
Yes.
After Minnesota, we go into the gauntlet. The NFL didn't do Washington Commanders any favors here. They didn't do the team any favor. I haven't looked at too many other teams' schedules, see if they go through the same gauntlet that Washington goes to. Washington plays 4 divisional games. Their last games are divisional games. They go to the New York Football Giants. They go to MetLife, play the New York Football Giants. Then Washington plays a Thursday Christmas game at home against the Dallas Cowboys.
No, you're skipping the Eagles. You
Oh,
skipped
sorry.
the Eagles
Oh,
game
sorry.
on
They play the
Saturday.
Eagles. They play this right. They play the Eagles. Play the Eagles. Then they play Dallas on Christmas. Right?
Yep.
Then they play the Eagles again.
Yeah, I hate that. Before we get into each individual game, there is nothing I hate more than backloading division games. I don't want to play a division game week one, and I don't want to finish with 3, 4, or 5 division games in a row, which has all happened because it can work out. It worked out. Gibbs 2.0 2005. They finished with 5 division games and won the lot and got in the playoffs, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera one year, they finished with 5 division games and lost them all and lost the next 4 and then beat the worst Giants team anybody's ever seen ever with a coach that got fired a day later. And that was miserable beyond belief. I do not like backloading division games like this. They need to be sprinkled throughout. I like playing one in September, 2 or 3 in October, 2 or 3 in November, 2 or 3, 1, maybe 2 in December. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I just want to say that up front before we get into each game. I hate this playing a same team twice in 3 weeks. Bad. You got to play one early, one late, so that you don't, because you get a situation where somebody could just be in a bad way through injuries, and you take advantage of it twice while somebody else in the division had to play him healthy twice. And so I hate that.
So that being said, George, New York Football Giants, 1:00 game, December 14th.
I'll tell you, as a kid, I watched a lot of Redskins teams play in that piece of crap old Meadowlands in December and lose and have their hearts broken more times than I care to count. I think the Giants are going to be better than what everybody thinks. That said, I think Jackson Dart will be the quarterback by then. I can't. There's not too many scenarios, and one of them would be the Giants are like in a playoff push, and Russell Wilson's been brilliant. But I think Jackson Dart will be the quarterback by then. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, we played 2 games against the Giants last year. We were fortunate to win the first one. And the second one, we were better, but we didn't really put them to the sword like we could. I think we put them to the sword here. I think we go into New York and not just get a victory, but we get a rare route up in New York, because I think that's the game you make a statement starting this run of division games. That's the game where you say to everybody, we are going for this division championship, the number 1 seed, which we all think Washington's going to be in that race for. You make a statement by taking a Giants team that's going to be better than what people thinks and stomping a mud hole in them.
I agree with you there. I think by this time, this Giant team has turned on Daboll, and Daboll is on fire watch. Right? I think Daboll will be on the fire watch by this time, even though he had made the quarterback switch to Jackson Dart. I think this team might, it depends on their record, they might be looking already to go to the golf course. Right? They might be looking already to go to vacation at this time. So I agree with you, George. Washington takes they take the New York Football Giants here out to the woodshed, and I think they beat them big. All right, then we go to Dallas. Then we have Eagles. First time matchup. Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Right, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts taking on the Eagles. Devontae Smith. Hey, big game. Antonio, we got Brown, AJ Brown, come to Washington for the first time. If this team is healthy, this Philadelphia team is healthy here, and this Washington team is healthy here, this is going to be a big game with divisional implications written all over them. Teams haven't met with each other. I want to say Washington gets redemption, but this is the L.
Oh, boy.
I think I want to say they get redemption. They're going to be up for this game. I think they're going to be so much up for this game that it's going to backfire.
You're not wrong at all. for those feelings, I wish I could say with confidence we're going to get this win, but I have to. This is the NFL did us some favors with certain games early in the schedule, but like you said, they did us no favors late, and here's why. There is nothing I want more than to get the taste of 55-23 out of my mouth. You can't ever completely erase it because it's there for all time. It's a playoff game. Just as I still delight in the fact that we got Buddy Ryan fired in 1990 by beating him in the playoffs and sending his fat rear end out of town in Philadelphia. They will be talking about 55-23 forever, no matter what happens. But I want to get as much of that taste out of my mouth as I can, and it needed that game, whether it was home or away, and I actually would have preferred it be away. I wanted to play Philadelphia in the first month or the first 2 months of the season the first time.
Yeah.
It kills me that this game is going to be dead come December. And you know why? I work at my work, which I love dearly. And you know what I found out after the Super Bowl? The guy that trained me at my job is one of these people. And I walked into the work after the Super Bowl and I saw this. And then I saw that every day. No, not excuse me, not after the Super Bowl, after the championship game. Because, of course, that whole week leading up, I'm like, oh, yes, brother. We're going to get those Eagles and go to the Super Bowl. I couldn't wait. And I had to, every day at work, all the way to the Super Bowl. And then after the Super Bowl, for a month straight, I would see him. He would have this big old grin on his face. And he would do this. And he would sing Fly, Eagles, Fly. And I told one of my bosses, I said, you know, I love this job. But if they repeat next year, I'm going to have to quit because I won't be able to take it. It kills me we're not playing them until December because no matter what Washington does, no matter how well we're playing, no matter if we're in the division lead or not, all we're going to hear from the Eagles is 55-23, 55-23, 55-23. And by the way, this is the other part that sucks. You are going to watch those highlights of Saquon Barkley taking that first carry to the house. You know how we're going to see the Hail Mary leading up to the Bears all week, the Hail Maryland play. We'll see that play 10,000 times leading up to that game. I hope you're wrong. I fear you're correct, Glenn, because I will be on my last nerve by that point. It'll be December leading up to Christmas. I'm kind of a Scrooge at Christmas anyway. I'm one of those kind of people for the most part.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to be going into Christmas Day having lost to Philadelphia because I do fear that might mean we're out of first place in the division, which means we may have to go to Philadelphia and win. And even then, we still might not win the division if we lose that first game to Philadelphia. So my nerves I'm going to be a wreck. I'll just forward this to everybody right now that knows me. There is no telling what my mental state's going to be in December. Why are we waiting until December to play these guys? I don't get it. But I fear you might be right that we might lose. Jane Daniels, you're going to have to do it for us, bud, just like you did in the home game last year. We got to get him this ball with 2.5, 3 minutes to go with a chance to win. And he's going to have to do it for us again. If he does, we can start building a statue for him right now because that's the kind of quarterback he's going to be worthy of that if he does it for us there and wins that game.
And that's my thing on this game, too, because you're going to have it leading up to it. Since these teams haven't faced each other, everybody's going to be talking about Washington and Philly.
Yep.
Washington and Philly. They haven't met. It's like watching pro wrestling and the two wrestlers have talked so much trash, but they haven't touched each other. And now you get to WrestleMania and it's getting ready to happen for the first time. And so this is what we get to see in December. Playoff football, right? Talking about playoff football. Then after that, we take on the Dallas Cowboys. Second time with Dallas. I'm going to say this is the dub. Depends on how the Philly game turn out. This is a dub. I'm going to say this is a win, whether we lose the Philly or win the Philly, because playoff positioning is going to be taking place here, and Washington is going to know that this game is very important. So they get the dub here.
Very expletive deleted Christmas. Peace on earth, and goodwill to everybody except the Cowboys fan. That's the first thing.
Yep.
Ain't no peace on earth or goodwill to no Cowboys fans. Not their owner, not their coach that was a leftover. He was the last piece of cake on the table, and you just had to have something for your sweet tooth, so you ate it, even though it was terrible and it was probably got no frosting on it, and it was like, yeah, you ate it anyway because you wanted some cake. That's what Brian Schottenheimer is. He was leftovers.
Yeah.
I am as anti, not only because I hate the Cowboys. I think I don't get the people that think the Cowboys are going to bounce back, because I feel like last year showed you everything. They cannot win with this roster. They are doubling down on it. Yes, they got Pickens, and that's great. If Pickens blows up, they can't keep him. They don't have the money. And I'm imagining by this point that they stink, that Micah Parsons is making noises about leaving, and that everything is falling apart. And it better be a win, because I'll tell you something. You think I'm a Scrooge already on Christmas. If Washington loses to Dallas on Christmas, because if they do, then you can forget winning the division, number 1 seed, any of that mess. That's out. Oh, Lordy. That'd be the worst Christmas ever. Again, I was happy we weren't playing Dallas on Thanksgiving. I don't love playing Dallas on Christmas. I don't love playing Dallas after playing Philadelphia, because we know the Philadelphia game is going to be a war.
And we physical.
And it's just like we played Dallas twice in situations that would be identified as trap games. The problem is Dallas is our biggest rival, so it shouldn't be a trap. Even if they are terrible,
Short
it
week
matters.
Too. And it's a short week, George. I forgot to mention that it's a short
That's
week.
right.
You play on Sunday, and then you come back and play on that Thursday, right? So it definitely is a short week for the Washington Commanders taking on the Dallas.
I see what you're saying, Taj, about the little piece of chicken. Yeah, you get the big old thing of chicken from Popeyes, or where I say Popeyes because I love Popeyes. Yeah, and it's that little gnarly one at the end. It's not even like a real one. It's like 2 bites and that's it.
Yeah,
that's what Brian Schottenheimer is. That hiring made no sense. Nothing they did made any sense except getting Pickens, which they needed, which was a good move. Who the heck's their running back? I mean, they at least drafted that guard. That'll help that offensive line, but that offensive line needs to be Washington needs to beat their brains in. I don't know if they will, but they need to go in there. At home, we need to have all the Cowboys fans leaving Maryland crying the blues.
That game also is going to be rocking. I think that game going to be a sellout as well. Christmas present for a lot of people on that game. You can see ticket prices now already up for that game.
Oh gosh, yes,
up for that game. So again, I think that's going to be a big one there. Got to get a dub, because it'll be a long Christmas weekend if you don't.
And Netflix better be on their stuff and not have these problems that Netflix has had with some of these sports things. Or you think you had everybody jumping all over you before you just screw up a Cowboys Commanders game and you see what happens. Netflix
shouldn't be screwed up
trouble.
At all. Washington needs to get the dub here, and then we finish off the season with the Philadelphia Eagles. At this point, I hope Washington's already clinched the playoff game, clinched a playoff berth. Hope they're not playing for anything. That's the ideal thought. You figure at 13 and maybe 3 at this point, or you at 14 and 2 at this point. Hopefully you have something locked up, and you're not playing Jaden Daniels. You're not playing your team. Week 18 is always tricky for me, because you never know, because you may not get the team. You may not get everybody's best. Depends on their positioning. But nonetheless, I think Washington still gets the dub here, and I think they finish the season at a 13-4 record. So 13-4 is what I have, but I think they get the dub here.
I'll say this, Glenn. If you're right about us losing the first game to them, then this game is going to be for the only scenario where I see Washington not having to win this game to win the division or get the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed or whatever will be if they win the first game with Philadelphia. If you are right and they lose the first game with Philadelphia, you can bet your bottom dollar it's all going to be on the line here up there.
Yeah.
And that's tough to have to go up there.
Go up there in November with that crowd. with that crowd and people thinking, and with them being already divisional leader, it's gonna be hostile. Last game of the season.
God. And the weather will be terrible, which will play right in to that crowd. That crowd will love that if it's snowing or sleet or whatever and all this. Here's the other thing that we haven't talked about that we need to say for these December games, especially against your division. This running game better be doing something.
Yeah.
We better not be back down to Jaden Daniels needs to run the ball for us to have a running game. Can't have a repeat of that this December, or we're going to lose most of these games in the division. Simple as that. So, Philadelphia, you're talking about dead gum. What is it? January 2nd or 1st, or January 2nd or 3rd, whatever it's going to be. New Year. It's going to be cold in all likelihood. It could be nasty out there. Better be able to run the football up there at the link in January. Got to do it if you're going to win that game. Because I think that this season could be the season we've been waiting most of our lives for, I'm going to say that with the division on the line and maybe the number 1 seed on the line, we pull this game out. Which would put me at either 14-3 or 13-4.
George,
and we pull this game out and win the division.
I think so, too, with this game, Washington game, because, Paul put something in the chat. And I thought about how to think about this last year when the Eagles wasn't doing well the first couple of games of the season. This team was getting ready to turn on Sirianni, right? This team was getting ready to turn on the head football coach. They was getting ready to, if you listen to Philadelphia sports news, like this dude was the dumbest guy in the world.
Oh, right? They're the only team I know that had an early bye that needed it at the perfect time. Their bye came when they absolutely had to have it.
So, come on, even though Paul said this game will be nothing, if the Eagles don't have a great season and they're losing games they should win, they may not even have a coach at this point, or he may be on the hot seat. I know he just won a Super Bowl, but this Philadelphia fan base was getting ready to get this dude out of town last year prior to the bye. His decision making is not the great, so I think this is an opportunity for Washington not only send Philadelphia home, but also an opportunity for them might be able to get a coach fired. So, with that being said, I think Washington wins this game. I already said it, either 13-4 or 14-3. George, key matchup. What game are you looking forward to the most?
Well, there's a tie in that regard. The one of them is the game in Madrid. I will have family members who are over there. And so I might get to be one of those family members who gets to be over there for that game. Maybe. Okay. We'll see. So that one is definitely circled on my calendar, especially as if that game was not in Spain and it was at Miami, I would definitely be trying to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you the other one for me, and it may sound a little strange, but I am looking forward to that Atlanta game early in the season, just because Penix impressed me a lot. And as I said earlier, he should have played sooner. The kid can absolutely spin it. It's just a question of health with him. I really want to see, because we talk about the second-year quarterbacks with Nix and Daniels in that matchup. I want to see Penix against Jaden Daniels, because I'll tell you what, we could be looking at two guys who are Mozart, Beethoven level conductors out there. We could be looking at two guys who could dominate this league for the next 10 years with their ability to throw the football. I'm looking forward to that game because I think Atlanta will be a significant challenge like you do. And I think Michael Penix, I want to see how he's come along, given that he didn't get to play the whole season like Jaden Daniels has. I want to see how advanced he is. So those are the two. Those are the two for me. Miami, because there might be a chance I could actually be there, and Atlanta.
The ones I'm looking for, Todd just scares me too, man. The Atlanta game always scares me when they play Atlanta. Falcons game scared me too. The game I'm looking for is the Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh yeah,
because that's to me is a measuring stick, right? I'm gonna use the Ric Flair said: "To be the man, you got to beat the man." Right? To be the man, you got to beat the man, right? So I know they're not the world's champion, but this team has been to the Super Bowl. This just been Patrick Mahomes. You have Travis Kelce. In order to be the man, you got to beat the man. So they have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in order for this team to ring out even greater than it already has been. And then you have to beat the Philadelphia Eagles the first time. I know I said I said they won't get the dub, but they have to beat the Philadelphia Eagles the first time. They need to beat them the first time they play around.
Absolutely.
They get them. So those are the two big games for me. The Philadelphia Eagles first time and the Kansas City Chiefs. Todd says this. Hits the chat up. Todd said Robinson was cooking us before they decided to stop giving him the ball. That is true, but the run defense should be a little better.
He was.
Yes.
As a Bijan Robinson owner in a few leagues, I know it?
Defense should be a little bit better. We should be able to stop Bijan Robinson. If we don't, we're going to have problems with this schedule if we can't stop the run. All right, James said this. James agrees with us. We're going 14-3 or 13-4. So James agrees.
That's about where I'm at too, James.
Where everybody's at. If you haven't had a chance to drop your predictions there. Again, Paul says he got us 14-3. All right, got us 14-3. We got there. Hey, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Instagram. Let us know your predictions by looking at the schedule. Right? Of course, we know this is going to change. Don't do things silly. Don't go out there and put money on in Vegas. Don't put no money on the team. Don't do any money yet, unless you got money like George and you're willing ready to do it. All right? Because George talking about going to Spain. So that Spain ticket is crazy. I already looked. That's George. That Spain ticket.
Well, here's the thing. I won't be paying for a hotel over there. I'll be staying with family over there. True. So that kind of helps a little bit.
I need to brush up on my Spanish, man. We all go. The game is good. I think that game's gonna be big. Here it is. The last Philadelphia Eagle game. Trust me, if it's come to the wire, that will be the Sunday night 8:00 game. I don't care what anybody says. That will be the Sunday. Yeah. If it's Philadelphia and Washington,
it's for all the marbles, they're gonna flex that, and that's I'm glad you brought that up because that was the one thing that surprised me is that there was a limit on how many primetime games you could play. So I kind of thought they might undercook it a little bit just to leave us potential flexing opportunities like that one. I'm with you. If that game's like Minnesota Detroit last year, where it's for the division and the number one seed, that's going to Sunday night, 100%. This is the NFC East. The NFC East is a ratings winner. The NFC East built the NFL and is the greatest division in sports. And if you don't believe it, look at the television schedules this year, and it tells you this division is back. This is where the action is. Philadelphia, Washington, Week 18 for the division. Hello, NBC. We'll be seeing you once again.
Must TV. Paul says this, and I agree. Todd says this. Feel good to have one of these teams on our team, right? It feels good to have one of those on our team, right?
Taj, I said it last year, but it really is true. Jaden Daniels is the one that some people have been waiting their whole lives for. Yes. I'm 46, so I've been waiting 2/3 of my life for him.
I've been 2/3 of my life. I'm 46 as well. So
you've been waiting for 2/3 of your life. Some people have been waiting their whole lives for Jaden Daniels. I think I wonder what he thinks of all this, in private and all this stuff. But I think I wonder if he has an inkling of just how much this fan base has been waiting for him, has wished for him, has prayed for someone like him, has prayed for all these people that we have. The coach, the front office, the GM, everybody. We have waited for times like this. Can you believe that this team is not playing at 1:00 for 2 months?
2 months.
How many years have all of us who don't, or I shouldn't say all of us, how many years have you watched this team at 1 and turned the game off and done something else the rest of the day? Or in my case, hunted for a stream at 1:00 because you knew you were never going to see them in the area you were living in because they were terrible. For this team to be on prime time this much is fantastic.
Hey, Paul, 2 comments by Paul, which is true. We're going to need a lot of Red Bull this year, Paul. I got a natural high. Don't do any coffee. I don't need anything like that. It is a natural high. I'm up all the time, right? Up all the time. I agree with you like this, Paul. I haven't felt this way since 91, really, as a kid in the candy store. This team is – we talked about – let's be honest. We've talked about this team since the NFC Championship game. There's been every week that this team has been something in the news. And guess what? Knock on wood, do whatever you want. All of it's been positive.
Yeah, but
George, all of it's been positive. Right. We remember the years where everything was negative? Like you couldn't turn on this team and talk about this. It was negative. Everything's been
love
positive.
this show because as anybody that knows, I was watching this show pretty regular before I was a part of it. This show didn't do a lot of off-season episodes 2 and 3 and 4 years ago because why would you? It was not fun to talk about. You talk about the draft and you talk at the start of training camp. That was it. It's not just and Paul, I had the same thought as I was thinking about this today. Like in 90, I remember because I was a kid then, but I remember everybody was excited because they had just come off sticking it to the Eagles, knocking them out of the playoffs. They lost a competitive game out in San Francisco. You knew that team was cherry ripe and ready to go. You knew they were a Super Bowl contender. None of us knew that. Oh, well, maybe not none of us. I didn't know they were going to be that good in 91. Now, this team isn't that team because that roster was so stacked. Remember, that was pre-salary cap. That roster was so stacked. You know, we were paying big money just so a guy could hold for the kicker because he was the kicker's favorite holder. You know, Jeff Rutledge, God bless him. And, I mean, they were all pros. I think we ended up with 9 or 10 all pros on that team. It was insane what went on that year, ripping the MVP. This roster ain't that. But I feel the same way as you, Paul. This is what it felt like leading up to 91. It felt like that this team could be that we knew it was a Super Bowl contender. It was just a question of, were they going to be as good as what we think, and were a few things going to break our way? That's what this feels like this year. It's so exciting, and it's so unbelievable because literally we were sitting here 2 years ago, and this team was in the damn toilet. And now look at them. And it's only taken 2 years for it to turn around. It's amazing.
Yo, it's only taken 2 years. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you hit us up. Let us know.
Yes.
Let us know what game you circled. Let us know what game you got penciled in. Let us know what game you're trying to go to this year, right? Are you going to be there Christmas Day opening the gifts with everybody else? Again, whether they take on the Dallas Cowboys, let us know. And you can let us know by following us on all social media platforms. Again, IG, TikTok, Instagram at ABG_Errrrything. That's ABG_ERRRYTHING. Errrrything. Make sure you subscribe. For those who are watching, you're already subscribing to us. Make sure you hit us up there. Subscribe, leave a comment. Hey, I will be at the Christmas Day game. I'm letting you know now, going to Christmas Day game.
Nice.
Be at Dallas there. I'm going to make sure it happens. So let's something changes. Or as my grandfather say, my dad would say, if the creek don't rise and the Lord don't return. All right. If the creek don't rise and the Lord don't return. Dallas will be at the Christmas Day game with the family. But once again, hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification. You've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything powered by the Urban Sports Team and Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. You dig. Catch you later, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Wole wasn't here, so we can ditch it. We can talk about the Michigan guy all we want because JJ McCarthy's not that good.
We're out.
We're out. Peace.